Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm okay. As it was counting down, I noticed the day bed behind me, the blanket seems maybe messed up and my brain was like,
Fix it, fix it. Fix it now. You don't have time.
I will ignore it. It's okay.
I wouldn't have even noticed it. So if Max wants to edit this part out, it looks good. There's a little pop of color there,
Yeah.
which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I thought we could talk about today is kind of take a different angle. We spend so much time talking about strategy and big picture things, and I thought it could be interesting for once to talk a little bit about process and tactics.
Yes. Would love that.
And yeah, good. Okay, we'll dive in.
You're my fearless leader. I will follow you.
So this is
Where are we
how
starting?
this is where I came up with this idea. We are working on a program jointly with another agency, and that's the first time we've ever done this.
Mm.
We are doing it because it's a global program. So it's a longstanding client of ours who is global, and we have traditionally just handled their US business. But now we are part of a global network of independent agencies. We just joined in November called Worldwide Partners. And so there we have sister agencies now around the world who we can work with without it being like a weird competitive
Or having to even
thing.
figure it out. If
Right,
it's right.
right. I just email the interagency person and I tell her what we're looking for and she tells me who to reach out to. She makes the connection.
Beautiful.
She does all the vetting for me.
Love it.
So, we are working with this amazing group based in London on this program, and we're kind of overseeing everything and still doing the bulk of the client management and using all of our tools, but they are handling it. This program is involving a number of different countries, different languages. There's recruitment happening in the Netherlands, in Poland, in Germany, in the UK. There's a lot going
Nice.
on. So it's amazing to have this partner who can handle it. They have people on staff who can, you know, I can pull up a feed and it might look lovely, but I don't know Polish.
Right.
So
Not
it's
yet.
I know a few words because they're similar to Yiddish, and I heard Yiddish a lot growing up, but no, do not speak Polish. So, all in all, absolutely wonderful to be working with an agency. And it's nice to, you and I know this, it's nice as two different agencies to work together and share
They
things
get
with
it.
each other.
Yeah.
One of the things that's very different about how the two of us work. So, when we do a program, I will say the exception to this, sometimes we do a program where it's maybe two very, very large influencers, like in the millions of followers. In
Hmm.
that instance, we figure out who the influencers are first. We contract specifically against those humans,
Mm.
and then we move forward. For the bulk of our programs where we're working with below a million, actually, even some of them are over a million now, but for the bulk of our programs where there's more of a volume play happening, we contract with our clients for a set of deliverables that is not attached to any human beings.
Right.
So you are getting 2 posts from a macro, 10 posts from micros, 20 posts from nanos, and it's just generic in this. It's just spelled out generically based on platform and tier. I understand from a client perspective, it's a little bit of a leap of faith. It's a little bit scary to sign a contract when you don't
Okay.
to do an excuse me, to do an influencer program without knowing who the influencers are.
Right.
But for the most part, our clients are fine with this. They're still selecting the influencers. They're just committing to a set of deliverables at the
Right.
upfront.
Right.
So then when we do our recruitment, we know exactly what the client is going to pay for, what they want. We put out a recruitment. We find people who are a great fit. We have people from our network apply. We determine if they're a great fit. We have a little bit of a back and forth with them. We make sure they are happy to do it at the rate that we're offering.
Right.
We make sure that they vet them, make sure their content's okay. There's no weird controversy in their background. They're available on the days, yada, yada, yada. We present these options to our client.
Right.
They select the ones they want to work with. We let those people know. Everything moves forward. The agency partner we're working with does it a little bit differently. And I'm kind of wondering if it's the more common way
Mm.
to do it, where we contracted up front for a specific number of deliverables. They found people who are a fit, presented them to the client made their selections, and then they're going back and vetting and negotiating.
I have problems with that.
But they do this all the time and it works fine for them.
Okay. So maybe the boogeyman in the closet I'm imagining, which is, you know how that goes when your client sees the name and the content of a person.
They get so excited.
They get so excited. And that person turns out to be not a good fit for whatever hidden reason bubbles up in your vetting. It's not good on either side, I don't think, because either they're the dream killer for their hopes about what the list would look like, or you agree to let that person be on the program knowing in your heart as an expert, this is not going to go well.
Right. Because you haven't had that back and forth to know that they are going to be problematic.
Well, or you have, like you're saying, they vet after the brand has approved it.
I think they did some vetting, but they didn't do
It's a
all of
light
the
touch.
like negotiations and
okay.
Are you available?
Yeah, and at this rate and with this many deliverables. I got you. So that, I still think that would put anybody in a tough position. I think you just have to set up your client relationships really strictly in some ways, like have that process be very tight so that your clients understand this could all go differently than we think.
Yeah.
Versus...
I mean, and sometimes it does, to play devil's advocate to myself. Sometimes it goes wacky anyway. Like I posted on LinkedIn just a few days ago about a situation in which we had done all of that vetting and negotiating at the upfront. We presented the influencers to our client. We then went back to let people know that they were selected, and suddenly 2 people increased their rate by more than 10 times each after they had already agreed to a rate.
Right.
In writing.
No.
So,
okay.
So we're still ending up in a situation where we have to go back to the client and say,
this
too
isn't
bad, so
work.
sad. You pick another one.
Right. You're right. And that is, at the end of the day, I think when we're both asked, how do you prevent, influencers from ghosting you or going rogue?
You don't.
99% of the time we do, but there's always that. Because there's always the person who doesn't ride the bus on Saturdays or whatever you had a couple of episodes ago. There are it's a human interaction. There are always surprises. And so are you feeling like you're white knuckling this process with that cohort, that agency that's working with you?
I think what's making me curious about this is it's going fine.
How dare they be right? I feel like there's a lot more time involved in this second way than the first way.
That could be. I'm spending actually some time with them in person next week. So I'm very curious to sit down and
maybe hash it out from a data side.
Right. And not being, it's very hard to Zoom. Like every time we Zoom, I'm eating lunch and they're ready to go to the pub.
Don't let Danielle fool you. She's always ready to go to the pub. She's going there after this, right? She's ready to go. No, that's okay. Because they're overseas. They're over in England or something. Okay. Yeah, I'd have to think about that a little bit more because we mirror your process.
You do it how we do it. Okay.
Not only that, Danielle, but we got to the point where we didn't even let our clients approve the list because we got so dialed in on the front end. We're like, it might be different now. But
we do programs like we offer that as a different program that costs less.
Right. Okay.
Right? Because it saves us time.
Right. But also the reason we pulled it out of the process is it became this sticking point where, and again, this is maybe 10 years ago when brands were new to the space. And so how do we choose between, if they need 10 influencers and we've given them 20, they would just get stymied. And then they have this committee of approval voices that are approving it. And it became this, well, why aren't we on time with the program, or are we going to meet our deadlines?
Do you find that I find that clients, if we have some clients who just approve everything quickly, we have some clients who always approve everything slowly. Mm-hmm. But I find there's like a subset of clients where they do one or the other. They're opposite on them. So they might really take forever to get to that right list of influencers and want us to kind of give them a second round, and this isn't quite right, and the hemming and the hawing and the thinking it through and all of that. And then you're like, oh no, this is one of those really slow, difficult clients. And then you get them the content to approve and they're like, awesome.
Right. Because tactically speaking, that's another piece of the puzzle, right? Another
Right.
phase
Right.
that can be added in or taken out for cost savings and all of that. I'm trying to think. I'm actually, because we haven't historically had our clients approve those lists, that hasn't been a sticking point. And what we end up telling them if they have concerns is we will replace outliers, right? So if there was somebody that got missed in the whole process and you're like, oh my gosh, we've worked with that person, we know we don't want to work with them again, and it got missed in the uptake onboarding, that's totally fine.
So they don't know who's working on it until the content goes live?
No, we share the list with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
so
wow,
that
you're
really
living on the edge, lady.
No, we share the list and they review it so that
Gotcha.
because
for
our
program.
job, we feel like our job is to know the program so well and nail the strategy down so clearly that we are acting on their behalf, that we're going to have a better chance going out and getting the exact right. But, and I think you've had this happen too, oftentimes who we know is going to be a good fit, they will balk at for one reason or another. Like the metrics aren't exactly there, or this person posts too much with the color pink. Like there could be some random, and we wanted to circumvent that where we can, because they can shoot themselves in the foot. The brand clients can, and without fail, people that they have said, well, we're concerned about this person or that person, are always the ones that come back to us and say, we loved that person.
Yeah.
They were great. And we're like,
that's such a great feeling when you can kind of push a client to work with someone because it's going to be great. And then they just can't not to be like, and I told you so type of
you can't.
But sometimes it's nice.
Yeah. What we've done is used that data to assure our clients who are concerned about that part of the process, here's what normally goes down. You might have hesitations. We guarantee you these are the people you're going to love the most, maybe. And it's that whole confused minds don't buy. So we felt that the more confusion on the front end, the more it would drag out throughout the process. And the more they felt like they were responsible for running this program and deciding on this program and strategically navigating it. That's not what they're supposed to be doing, the client.
That's another thing I've seen I've heard. I think we've talked about this before when we are in the proposal stage and talking to clients who've worked with another agency and are now talking to us. We love asking them why they are unhappy or what they're looking to change. And what's very interesting to me is I feel it is a point of stress often for clients to just get this giant list back and feel like they have to sift through it. So even I feel like we're kind of in the middle of
the sweet
closer
spot
to you than what some of these
it's a
other
more
agencies
curated
do.
experience for your
so
clients.
if they need 15, we might give them, here's an example now. We have a client now who's picking 6 and we gave them 13 and they're all a great fit. They all meet the rate. They're all excited about it. And it's literally, choose 6. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. And to your point, when we've had pushback that was make or break for working with a client, we've done the same thing. Okay, we'll get you 20% more than you want, 40% more than you want, or something. We'll overshoot it so that they feel, and I feel the maturity of brand clients has increased over time too. So they've got teams dedicated to this. It's not the harried marketer who's like, what influencer? I don't know what's going on. It's now sophisticated teams. But there's the other piece is when you have this huge list to share and there are 4 people on the team, one who does paid and one who does social, or they're not even really on the team. They're from other teams. That can get really
we have
crazy.
So we use Creator IQ for that process. They have they call them one sheets, and they see we have the list of influencers and it has some bio information, some demographic information, follower count, numbers, all of that. It has links out to sample posts. And then along the left side, it's collaborative. So they can approve, reject, add comments. And when you have, it's very interesting when you have multiple people on the team and there's disagreement and you can kind of see it
See it
playing
happen.
out in our system.
Yes.
And then there has to be like the buck stops here
Yeah.
person who's gathering the feedback and like, okay, appreciate
Right.
it, but we're going to go with this person.
Who's the final say? Oh, that brings up so much emotion because so we had a client that we presented a spreadsheet in Google Drive, a shared, and we put yes, no toggles. And they added a maybe toggle. And we kept taking the maybe toggle away. We kept deleting it and they kept putting it back in. And we were having that back and forth with them, which was so funny. And
we have a client who invented a maybe, like in our system, it's all pre-programmed. So it's not like a spreadsheet where you can go in the data validation thing and add it. So they came up with their own maybe by if yes or no, if they selected neither, that meant maybe.
Right. You're like, what are we doing here? Then we also have had this happen with multiple voices weighing in. And this is fascinating to me from an operations side and tactical side. One person would ask the other person and tag them in, like, okay, how are you feeling about this person? And that person will put a thumbs up. And we're like, is that a yes? Is it a no? Is it a go? Or is it I've seen this and I'm coming back with more.
Right.
And basically, I think I've maybe told that story before. Like after a week, we're like, okay, it's a yes. Like that person's not coming back to fortify that thumbs up. But it's why I say that's an operational piece is we take that information back and we're like, oh, these are the places where the brand teams, as sophisticated as they are, have gaps as well that they don't know they have between communication styles and hierarchies with their teams.
I have to say, we always encourage the clients to add a lot of comments, especially next to the influencers they put a no on.
Yes.
It's so helpful. It's so helpful because we have one client now who operates very much on a vibes bandwidth.
Right. So you need that on paper.
And we've gotten, sometimes we'll get a no and it'll say wrong vibes. And it's like the more information we can get, like it takes some time to understand someone's vibes.
Yes.
And we're learning this client's vibes. So the more that he can share.
Yes.
We're getting the gist of it.
Related, and this might be a tactical piece, when we talk about the list building process for clients, that is a place that of course comes as part of the full managed services, soup to nuts campaign, full management, but it's a place we also pull out as gap coverage. So if a brand is having trouble with that research, vetting, onboarding phase, we will do list building, we will do vetting. And I tell them, you're going to get a list back that includes both the yeses and the nos on our end from what we've gleaned from you would be a no, because you don't want all that research wasted and you have to go recreate it later when we're not involved and go, oh, didn't we see that person before? The no's are as important as the yeses for downstream, long-term, future. And sometimes the no is they worked with a competitor. But in 6 months, it's not going to be a no. Right. Or it's a no because this person no longer has toddler babies, for your one client. They're pregnant. They just became a yes again or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So another kind of related question, when you're working on a proposal and the client asks to see sample influencers, what is your response?
I'll be honest. It used to really get my feathers up. But then I was like, these people are all online. Like they're all out there. It got my hackles raised because in some nefarious corner of my mind, I was like a journalist with my leads or a PR person with my leads to journalists and the brand wants them. Like, oh, they'll go and try to hire that person without me being involved.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, no, they need to understand the vibe and the aesthetic. So we do provide samples, and it depends on what they're looking for. Are they looking for samples of the content? Then we'll do that. Are they looking for samples of profiles?
I mean, sample influencers.
Right. Like they just want to take a peek at their profiles.
Yeah. So like a client, we'll pitch a client on something and they'll say, So we used to always provide samples.
Mm.
And then we had someone working in sales for us who felt very strongly that that was getting clients over the finish line, that we had to provide samples because that was helping us to close business.
Got it.
We have since stopped doing it as a default because it's super time consuming. And my concern is that we have a whole onboarding strategic briefing process where we learn a lot about the client beyond what you can learn in a single RFP or a single phone call. And our recruiting process is also, in addition to that briefing, just the vetting that we do and the back and forth and the asking influencers to apply and going out and hand recruiting. There's so much work that goes into that, and to try to condense that into something that we can flip in a day for sample influencers. My concern is always we might be missing them. It's very likely that we could miss the mark with some of these samples. And indeed, we have lost business before because they said, you just didn't give us the right type of people. Well, how could we? Because we didn't really go through our whole process. So now we only do it if they specifically ask for it.
I'm understanding your question.
Because I'm not going to say no. If they ask for it, I'm not going to say no, we don't do that.
So yes, I don't know that we've been asked in my recent memory for, before we sign with you, who would you recommend for this program? That would be a whole conversation for exactly the reasons you just said. So when I'm thinking of samples, I'm like, here's who we've worked with before. This is what the
that
content
I'm always
looked
happy
like.
to do. No, we have many clients who ask us, like, who do you think? I mean,
yeah, I would say when you pay me to consult with you, I'll tell you who I think, because that is a paid.
I mean, if you're up for a 7-figure contract and they say this is part of the RFP, you're not gonna. Are you gonna? You have more balls than I thought you did. You're gonna push back.
Well, let me think about it, because I talk tough on the podcast. Here's the thing. I have so many voices in my head speaking right now. To me, that is a deliverable. Even the samples, it's like asking for a test project when you're hiring somebody for a job.
Yeah.
So yes, 7 figures, it might make my eyes roll and say, oh, I'm going to defer to you. But I might also have a frank conversation with them that, hey, we want you to have the best experience here. We want you to feel really comfortable. And this is easily 40 hours of manpower to get you 2 samples. So let's scope out a little budget for that. Let's scope out a quick, so we can get that tackled.
I feel like I'm less concerned about the work involved in it and more concerned about these people haven't been vetted.
Yeah.
We don't even know if they're interested. We don't know if we can afford them. We don't know if it's actually what you want, because there's a bunch of questions we haven't asked you.
It's a huge problem.
So we when push comes to shove, we do it. But the amount of caveats on that slide is very long.
These big X's and skull and crossbones.
Not vetted, not.
Yeah. Proceed at your own risk.
Right.
I still think you and I could have an offline discussion about business practices, and you're identifying one that needs to be addressed in the sales process, and it cannot go unchecked, what you're saying, even in the face of 7 figures, because they are hiring you to be the experts. That's what and then they're changing the rules on you and saying, step out of your process to do what we want.
Right.
Like there's
this feels like
mess.
This could be such a great discussion on LinkedIn.
Yes. Right.
I'm just I would love to hear from brands.
Right, because they're having to do
Because if we can, we're telling you, as long as people fit within the budget, we'll work with anyone. Like if there's someone that a brand loves and wants to work with, they can send them over. We'll give our strategic opinion on that influencer, but we can pull anyone in to a program.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I struggle to understand, and I'd love for brands to, maybe we could even have a guest star brand, however you would say it. What I'm struggling to understand is, what does me pulling sample influencers for you outside of our process, doing it in a half-assed, janky kind of way,
putting us all at risk,
how does that help you in a way that seeing a case study and who we've recruited for others, seeing the quality of our work, seeing our testimonials, seeing who we work with, hearing from happy influencers, listening to thought leadership, like what are you getting from these sample influencers? What am I missing?
I have some ideas. Do you want to like shoot from the hip? What do you think they're missing? What do you think that does for them?
I mean, I've never worked at a brand. My guess is it feels customized to them.
Why does it need to be customized? Like I'm thinking about the problem before the problem before the problem is they don't have confidence in their own decisions. They don't have decision-making approval process capabilities. So they're taking this to someone else, even if they've told you they're not. They've got a buying committee that needs to weigh in on it. They don't trust themselves. Like maybe your language around this and mine going forward would be, I understand what you think you're looking for here. Instead, what we'd like to do is prepare you with the language internally to sell it as we've given it to you. Because that's what they're having trouble with, is selling it in. So they feel like the people above them are asking, the people who don't understand influencer.
I've had this come from like truly the people who are signing the contract.
Really?
We're going to have to ask.
Yeah.
We need Agatha Christie.
I still say, though, it's a confidence thing. That they may be fact finders, like we learned about Colby. They may want all the information before they can make a decision, and they feel like this is one of their check marks. But it's got to be about safety. It's got to be about risk.
I'll tell you one thing I like about it. When we have provided sample influencers and then we win the business and then we have that kickoff call, asking them what they thought of the sample influencers is a great conversation and is so super helpful in our actual recruitment.
So maybe it becomes a loss leader for you in the proposaling process.
Yeah.
That I
think I feel okay with where we're at now, where it's not our standard.
Right.
But we will do it
if they call it out. But I'm still super interested in where that's coming from because we have not, I mean, we've had people ask for samples, but like I said, it was more of this agnostic. What does content look like that comes out of one of your programs? What does, what do their profiles look like? What do videos look like? So they just want more of a vibe.
We've been asked for that. I mean, we're always asked for case studies. And then in some instances, we're asked, like, can you actually send us links to the content?
From the case studies.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Like they want to see it live in its own environment. And that's easy enough to do.
Now we're wrapping up and I'm like, it's an open loop for me. I'm going to be thinking about this.
We always need ideas, so we
can. Maybe you need to ask the people who have asked you this too for deeper dive, but I don't know that they'd be able to tell you. They'll give you like a happy answer, if that makes sense, versus a this keeps me up at night answer. But I think there's a this keeps me up at night. Like it's 7 figures. I can't blow this budget. I have to make sure I've got every last piece dialed in. And I think they have to qualify it to somebody else when it does or doesn't go well. So if it doesn't go well and somebody calls them out and says, why did you spend 7 figures that way? You didn't get sample influencers. Like it's to them like, oh, there's the gap that will be picked at. So I think they're just trying to like bulletproof themselves. And it makes sense.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yes. Well, should we put out calls for who wants to be heckled by us in real time?
Yeah.
It's a good conversation though.
Okay. Well, this was great. Thank you. And
thank you.
We will chat again next week.
See you then.